to teach the world to sing. Sing with me.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
La da 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 da. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Hey, Mark David Smith here, and I'm kraM. See the MARK? Yep, that's me. Hey, y'all. Back from Sukkot. We were gone for 3 weeks, and I know you missed me, but I know you're glad that we're back. With all our wonderful guests and people to come and speak through the different things that we talk about. This is a show where I bring up topics that other people won't talk about. I like to bring up things that, hey, you know, let's discuss this. Let's look at some of these things, you know. And tonight we're going to talk about, what is it, media in your eyes, media in our eyes, good and bad, what it has to do with the media. And so we're going to talk a little bit about all different kinds of media and that type of thing. At least I am. And we're going to get a few ideas of some people here, what they think. Let's see if Daryl, if we can hear Daryl.
You can hear me now.
All right. Well, see, I put my ear up to my microphone to see if it would come through, and it's coming through. So, what's up, Leroy?
It's good to have you back, brother. Wait for a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Playing hooky on us like that?
Say again?
You're playing hooky on us or sooky on us?
Hooky on you. No, I wasn't.
Playing sooky.
I was actually doing what the Lord told me to do. So, you know, hey, that's what we do. But, you know, this is the first time in 3 years that I've actually been able to meet with other people and congregate. Wouldn't you know, the 1 year where they're telling everybody to stay away is the year I literally go and want to be with people. That's would you think I'd do it any different, Daryl?
Nope. Neither would I.
Well, we did. We had a great time, and I understand you had a great time. You met in your new the building that you're the new old building that you're doing some meetings in, and did that go well? Did you have a good couple of meetings there?
Yes, it did. Just, you know, being able to gather in just a public facility and taking our new work to the next level. We have a new name. We have a new logo for it. It's tremendously exciting. You know, I'm a planter. So when you get to plant, it's when things come to fruition, it's really a joyous time.
Amen, brother. I'm with you. I'm a networker. So networkers and planters, they go together. You know, they work, they mesh. You know, they do pretty good. So I like it. So tonight, for just the next minute, you're going to be Justin Trudeau. Okay, just for the next minute. And so, Hey, Justin, what's up? Because I know everybody just calls him, Hey, Justin, what's up? So, Justin, what do you think of Trump and the elections coming up? Are you for Trump to win the elections in the United States?
You like my socks?
Okay. Yeah. So you're a Biden fan, are you?
Do you like my other sock?
All right, that's exactly what I was expecting, and I thank you for that. We'll just now if you want to come in as Justin again sometime during the show, you're more than welcome to.
I never want to do that.
You never want to. Okay.
No, never.
And if I just inadvertently call you Justin during the show,
we'll have to find out who you're talking to.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Speaking of who we're talking to here, Israel, my delight.
Absolutely.
That's your service.
Look at that green screen there, man.
I know, man. Are you guys using a green screen or a blue screen?
It's a great.
Israel, my delight.
Exactly. That's the message.
And welcome back, Mark. Really, we missed you.
What I have to
Didn't even know you were gone, but
I know. Well, I debated on whether or not to send out an email telling everybody we were gone for 2 weeks, but I thought, will I come back to a Lamb network if I do that? So I just kind of left it alone, and hey, it worked real good. The only people that I had problems with while I were gone were James and Abigail and Justin Trudeau. So it's what happened. So
I know who you're talking about.
oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh, there he is.
No,
Justin Trudeau.
We're gonna So James. What'd you say?
I said I can tell by the floppy ears.
Fluffy ears. That's what it is. Well, listen, James and Abigail, first time on Compass of kraM here. And this is the reason why I moved it to the nighttime. Actually, the higher ups are the ones that kicked me off of the morning show, put me on the evening, all that kind of stuff. But Abigail knows about that. You were kicked off of the morning show, same place, and put in the evening show, weren't you?
Yeah, and somebody took that place.
It was the higher ups. I don't know what it was. Somebody else just took that place, and then they got kicked off. So I don't know what the deal with all that was.
It's very humbling, But we need to be humbled, And you dealt with me well, and look at how meek and mild I am now.
I don't know. Honestly, I have to tell you, I do a lot better in the evening shows than I did on the morning the morning discussion shows. It works one way or another, and so I don't know what the deal is, but I like it. I like it here because I'm able to get more people on the show. They just can't make it to the morning shows, and so I like this. And Abigail joins me on contemplating the Constitution now on that Wednesday spot that Abigail and I were both on up there.
One way or another, she's going to get back in that spot.
That Wednesday morning just seems to travel. It just seems to go whatever way it's going to go. But
I actually enjoyed it when I was on there for those 3 months.
Well, were you on? Yeah, you were on there. That's right.
Well, we were honored to be on the last Compass of kraM during the day. And the following week, it became the Constitution.
Contemplating the Constitution. That's right.
So we were on the last kraM show.
Yeah, just the morning kraM.
Morning kraM.
We'll just call it morning kraM and evening kraM. Welcome back, my friends. That's all that matters. So right now, for the next minute, Abigail, you are.
Oh, Mark is frozen.
Oh, Mark is.
Am I really? No, I'm okay.
You came.
You guys were all frozen. Oh man, I hope not. I hope this don't do this. But hey, okay. So Abigail, for the next minute, you are Donald Trump, and you've been. They've told you, of course, you already knew that you were the Republican candidate for president, and you've just been told that Biden is going to be the Democratic, candidate. So what is the first thing that comes to your mind as Donald Trump?
This is going to be easy. Easy. This is going to be like a slide. No problem. But there's something running around in my head, and I think, really? But I'll go with the flow. I'll go with the flow. And because the truth of the matter is, I know who the debate is with.
Mm-hmm.
The debate is not with Sleepy Biden, Sleepy Joe. The debate is with the media.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is.
Media.
Very good. That's very good. You played right into me.
Right
in. So, Governor O'Hare, for the next minute, you're Joe Biden.
Come on, man.
And they've just told you that you have been, they have decided that you are now going to be the presidential candidate.
Can't answer without a teleprompter, though.
So I want your response when you find out that it's right now. We've just told you that you are the Democratic candidate running for president. What do you say?
Come on, man. Let's do push-ups, 100 push-ups right here. Drop it right now. Come on, man. We can do this. Come on. Where are we? I have no idea where we are.
Well, that was as good as Justin up there, so I agree. I thought this would be real interesting here, but Abigail, you're so right. It's actually all about the media. Is really what it is. It's what we see and hear and do, and that's where we're at here. So James and Abigail O'Hare and my let's see, is it my right hand buddy or my left hand buddy over here, Daryl? We're going to discuss what we can about the media tonight, because this is a huge deal, I think. So I've looked up a couple of things and jotted down a couple of notes about the media that I kind of went and looked up my ideas of some things. And of course, the word media is a noun. The main means of mass communication is the definition regarded collectively. It basically, like you just said, mass communication. Of course, the definition of mass communication is the imparting or exchanging of information on a large scale to a wide range of people. One of the things I did in a quick little research on that is the four functions of mass communications are, and I thought this was real interesting. Surveillance. How do you say it? Surveillance. No, I'm putting an I before the A there, and surveillance and surveillance. Say it again.
Surveillance.
I know, surveillance. How come I want to put the I before the A? I don't know. Anyway, correlation.
All that time you spent in Texas.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's it. Cultural transmission and entertainment are the four things that I found. Basically, they say are the four functions of mass communications. Of course, we all know that the main idea is entertainment. I think that's really what is the biggest idea here. Is supposed to be informing people of things that are happening around the world, locally and worldwide. But yet, I think it's all boils down to entertainment. How is it entertaining the people? Media sources are books, magazines, newspapers, television, radio, printed matter, such as flyers, internet, advertising, movies, video games, music, cell phones, various kinds of software, and each type of media involves both content and also a device or object through which that content is delivered. The word media is a plural form of the Latin word medium, meaning middle ground or intermediate. Mass media is a technical term used in advertising, in the advertising industry from the 1920s on. So kind of made up term back in there. So we have several different things. We have advantages of the media include that it allows information to be dispersed quickly and that it allows people to learn about cultures other than their own. Disadvantages of the media include that it can result in the spread of misinformation and the development of bad values. I actually found that worded exactly like that online. Can you believe it? It's I don't know that there really are any more advantages. I think it's all disadvantages. To me, there's a lot has to do more with manipulation, thought control. That's really where I think of when I think of the media. I think more along the lines of manipulation and thought control. One, of course, I'm always going to go to the movies. Hey, let's go to the movies. I'd rather go to the movies than watch watch Walter Cronkite. Is he still alive? One of the movies that I always think of when I think of the media is Wag the Dog. So, is everybody familiar with Wag the Dog? Robert De Niro? No, you're not. Oh, Harris, you have not seen Wag the Dog.
Yeah, I saw it.
I will send you my copy of Wag the Dog. You need to see this movie. Seriously. Right,
that
Daryl?
was one of the most cynical movies that I have ever seen. I mean, I was sick to my stomach after I watched that.
I need you guys to be sick to your stomach, so I'm going to send you the movie. But no, seriously, it is all about manipulating the media to have it to elect people that they want and all that kind of stuff. It's an incredible movie. It's very good. But anyway, why do we need the media? It gives us immense knowledge and transmits information. Media keeps us informed about various happenings around the world. It lets us know what is happening around us all over the world. With the help of the media, we get immense knowledge on various subjects. Media plays a vital role in the dissemination of information. And jumping to social media. Social media it is a plural word, by the way, social media, are interactive computer-mediated technologies that facilitate the creation or sharing of information, ideas, career interests, and other forms of expression via virtual communities and networks. I think we all have a general idea. There's a lot of different ways you can define social media, but we all have a pretty good idea of what all of that is. A last little thing I have is the idea that social media are defined simply by their ability to bring people together has been seen as too broad, as this would suggest that fundamentally different technologies like the telegraph and telephone are also social media. And of course, we know that the cell phone, not the telephone, the cell phone is the mass form of media anymore, no matter what it is. It's almost, why do we call it a phone? There's too many other words. It could be mass media. I just pick it up. Here's my mass media. What about yours? And so there's all kinds of different ways to look at it. Once again, good and bad. How do we see the media? Let's start with Abigail. What do you think? The media. Good, and I'm not going to put the word or. I want to hear both sides. I want to social media, good / bad. What do you think?
Well, in the day that we're living in right now, I mean, there was a day when the social media, you could sit down and you would, because people who became journalists and became social media journalists, as opposed to just writing in a newspaper article or a magazine, they were to be giving an objective viewpoint of what was going on. There was a day, and I lived in that day. I know I'm dating myself. There was a day when you could turn on the news, the social media, whether it be Walter Cronkite or any of the, various programs. And they were pretty much objective. You could always tell that there was some type of a subjective woven in there. But today, the social media, right now, I believe is so spiritually dark. I believe right now the social media is being used as a warfare vessel, if you will, because it's having an effect on people's minds. It's influencing people, and it's having an effect on the atmosphere, the entire atmosphere. I believe that they are being bribed. Most of the social media, there is I'm dealing right now. We'll deal with the worst media that there ever is. They are being puppets to a force that is, and I'm talking United States of America, and I'm sure it's also in Canada and other countries. But in United States of America, there is a social media that is being bribed to influence and direct people in darkness, and all they're spewing out is lies. They're spewing out lies, and they all have these talking points, and that lie is being repeated over and over again. And so I just keep hearing the father of lies is working through that particular social media, and so to me, it's very disturbing. It's extremely disturbing because I look at it from a broader perspective. Personally, if you're in the Torah and you have some light in your heart and you can discern, you can understand this is wrong and this is, you know the right from the wrong. You can hear the truth from the lies. But if you are an individual who is not at all filled with the light of the word, the spirit of Yah, not living for the creator of heaven and earth, Yeshua HaMashiach, you are being deceived and you are being duped and you are being mesmerized and ensnared on a very, very destructive revolution. It really is stirring hearts to have a revolution, chaos. And if you think about it, if we go back even to World War II, during the Holocaust, and I'll never forget how there was so much media that the Nazis, Hitler put out with what was going on over there. I mean, the screen, you had a little television, and on that screen, you can still find it now, reams and reams of film about what was going on in the Holocaust. Horrible. And it was a tactic to instill fear in people. And it was also, I mean, it was like so boldly in your face that this is a controlling force that's trying to destroy an entire race, the Jewish people.
Propaganda,
and also, I mean, propaganda, and it begins with the propaganda is to change a person's thinking and also to get to their heart and to instill fear and doubt and unbelief, and to take a person's soul, if you will, away from there is a creator, there is faith, no matter how bad things can look. If you have a relationship with the creator of heaven and earth, and you're seeking him, you have a refuge. So I see right now that tactic is being reinforced today. It's being reinforced not only in the news media, but it started off, and you mentioned it, Mark, the iPhone, the movies, all these various tactics. It was like you heard the expression when you have a pot of water, and you put a frog in that pot of water, and the water is tempered, it's cool, and then slowly you start to turn up the heat. Slowly, you don't do it too quickly, but you just kind of like slowly weave in all this evil, all this propaganda, all these lies, all this manipulation, all this stirring of a person's heart to bring fear, doubt, and unbelief, and vengeance, and to stir up things in their hearts that may have been done. May have forgotten it. I'm going to use the race card, if you will, racism, and there's just this total control, if you will, because people have. There's no. We hear it in the United States of America. No law and order. There's no law and order taking place, and so I just see it as I see it as a real attack on the Second Amendment.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, the First Amendment. And it also encourages the Second Amendment. Right. The First Amendment of freedom of speech. Right. Because when I think about freedom, when I think about real liberty to be able to speak and to be able to share your thoughts and to be able to share your objective thoughts, if you do your right journalism, if you bring the right facts to the table, not to say you may have all the facts, but you bring in an objective viewpoint, not a subjective, not something that's manipulating someone's thinking in a way that trying to literally destroy a place like United States of America or individuals. I say, wow. And I say, I've said this on the air. I've said, the media has run amok. Muck and mire is coming out of the not all of them. There is a small portion within United States of America that is still based on trying to be objective and share objective viewpoints. But the majority public media has been bribed, seduced, and owned by people who have an agenda. And their mouths there's just venom that comes out of the reports, which is not healthy for the human race. If it's not I mean, I don't like it. I'm thankful that I have the word in me, and I'm thankful that I'm disciplined in that area. But I talk to other people, and they don't. They don't have the word in them, and they're being led astray. I'm thankful the Father has given James and me availability to talk to people and be able to reason with them and bring about some light in this whole situation and bring them to understanding, because literally they were driven by fear. The dictates of fear were taking hold of their hearts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now tell us about the bad media.
I mean, but I'm going to say the good media. I mean, I know I did. That was the total bad media. The good media is, and I say it all the time, Mark, hallelujah for Messianic Lamb Network. Because
that was going to be my next deal. Is you are my number one advocate on any show, no matter what you're doing. I can count on you to build this media. Actually, I have a new tag that I'm using all the time called Messianic Media for the Messianic Lifestyle. Is the Lamb Network is Messianic Media for the Messianic Lifestyle. And so the way you portray Lamb in a positive way every time you're on air is the ultimate. I really, really appreciate what you do. Thank you so much.
I'm so thankful for it, Mark. I am so thankful because it's light. You know, our words are light, either light or darkness. And I tell them, I say, you can come on to this network here. And I encourage people to point people here, to be encouraged, to have light. I said, there's so many programs, live broadcasts, and places that you can be filled with light. And you can also be filled with people that are on this journey, and you can understand more what it means. So I say, point them to this venue. It's an oasis. So I'm very thankful for Messianic Lamb Network, and you know it. And I tell people all the time, I say, this is it's an oasis. It's a refuge, and it will help get your thoughts together. And I boast on all the broadcasts. I really do. I boast on the broadcast, and I say, not everybody's on the same perspective. Not everybody's on the same page. We all have the same destiny. We all have the same destiny. We're all working out our salvation with fear and trembling, and we are a voice of righteousness. The good media that we have, Mark, I mean, other than Messianic Lamb Network, I believe that there's elements of Fox News that you can receive truth. You know, you can receive some truth. It's not that they're also struggling. But they're trying to find the truth within their. You know, they see things. They don't know how to explain it spiritually or scripturally, but you can tell that they're seeking and they're bringing forth at least an objective viewpoint that has an element of fear not. You know, we have to do what we have to do. If anything else, you can vote. You know, they bring about that type of information. Vote.
That's right. That's right. Thank you very much. Very good. Very well said. I appreciate it. Daryl, your turn, my friend. Tell us about the media, you know, from your perspective, good and bad.
If you've ever read anything that Vladimir Lenin said about the media, it was quite instructive. I think one of the best ones is people have always been and will always be stupid victims of deceit and self-deception in politics. And that sums up what he thought of the masses. And when you think that the majority of what is going on in the United States today, at least the mainstream, is Marxist and controlled by the Communist Chinese, which is the daughter of the Russian Revolution, I think that we are in probably the most information-rich age in history. Daniel chapter 12 talks about that in the last days that knowledge will increase. And I don't even know what the statistic is anymore. It was, 90 days, 60 days, 45 days, that information doubles. The problem now is that you have those who are seeking to control it, because if you can control ideas, you can control people. One of the other things Lenin said, and was repeated by Hitler and other dictators, is, give me the youth and I'll own, I'll have the next generation. And that's why we have this propaganda that's going on within the school system, even within seminaries. There's more information available out there than ever before, but at the same time, it requires more discernment to sort through it than ever before. When Kennedy was assassinated in '63 and everything was shut down, like, the Warren Commission, interestingly enough, the same guy who did the autopsy for Kennedy also did the autopsy for Jeffrey Epstein and George Floyd. So this guy is still in the business 60 years later. So there's a great divide, and unfortunately, there's more brainwashing going on than ever before. And I think that all of us need to be brainwashed. My brain needs to be washed at least once a day, and it's got to be washed by the Word. So, like Abigail said, if you're not rooted in the Word, then you are subject to any kind of deception. I think there's more good information out there than ever before. You know, I'm a media hound. I have really committed myself to understanding what goes on around the world in truth, and I think that God has provided those sources for us. There are many really, really top-notch people out there, and I could list off probably dozens of them off the top of my head that I follow regularly. I was just having a conversation with the pastor of a church in town today, and you know, I've been feeding him some stuff because there's been some reports being leaked out right now that Canada is on the verge of going the way of Australia, and Trudeau has planned for lockdowns. We have internment camps that are being set up. As a matter of fact, I even looked yesterday, I think it was, at a document of a tender from the federal government for these facilities and those who are going to run them. So when we see what's going on out there, if we don't have ears to hear and eyes to see, we're going to be swept away. And one of the things that we're watching in even the body of Messiah today is that people are being swept away, and there's mass deceit. When it talks about the beast coming out of the sea in Revelation chapter 13, and it said, or sorry, when it talks about the dragon in Revelation 12, and it says that, you know, there was a flood that came out of his mouth. There are some people who have interpreted that to mean propaganda, because ideas have power. And what Hitler magnificently managed to do in Germany, and it wasn't him that started it, but he really capitalized on it, was the dehumanization of the Jewish people. And if you continue to hammer this message long enough, it was the same thing back in ancient Rome, that there was one Roman senator who had it out for the Carthaginian. I can't even remember what they are. But there was this group of people, and he would just get up every day and he said, and we should attack these people. And several years later, it actually happened, because everybody just, was so accustomed to hearing this, that we should attack them. Nobody even bother asking why. And this is what the Nazis did through, the teachings of Madame Blavatsky and the Thule Society and all these other different organizations that were atheistic and evolutionary. So if you believe that one race is superior to another, which was the whole justification for black slavery in the United States, you can make a case for it. Then, we're not all equal in God's eyes. But if you go back to the Word and you're steeped in the Word, you understand that it was the teachings of the Bible that eliminated slavery throughout most of the modern world. So going back to the idea that ideas have power, and that we need to really be asking God for discernment, because when there's, Proverbs tells us that the too many counselors is not a good thing. It's going to bring you to ruin. And that's because you can't make an opinion. Well, if you're accepting everything that comes your way, I think it's Proverbs 18, which I think describes a lot of people. Let me just pull it up. Proverbs 18:3, if I'm not mistaken, where it says that, no, sorry, that's not it. Anyway, it says that, when someone hears something, it sounds good until someone else comes along, and then, oh, well, and that shows someone who doesn't have any discernment. So we need discernment today, because we're being bombarded with these messages. Listen, Satan is called the prince of the power of the air, and he controls the airwaves. And so when you look at what the mainstream media is doing, yeah, Fox News has a couple of people. I think Sean Hannity is good. I think Tucker Carlson's good. But for the most part, it's propaganda, just like, everybody else. You have to go to the alternative sources, but even them, you have to have discernment, because a lot of the alternative sources are really fringe groups, and they're out there with, really far out ideas, talking about some pretty far-fetched things. So it requires us to draw closer and closer to the Holy Spirit now than ever before. I think it's a marvelous time to be alive. I think that, I've got this beautiful JPEG behind me that everybody keeps commenting on. And at one time, that was the only way that you could get information, was reading books. But now the internet has provided people with the click of a button pretty much the same information that I've spent 30 years and thousands of dollars accumulating. And that's a wonderful thing. But if you don't have discernment, then you're going to go off in all kinds of directions. And I hear it. I mean, I'll give you an example. And, we're not being correct on this show or anything like that. Where did this whole idea of flat Earth come from? And how did it make a resurgence 500 years after we buried it? I mean, it's because people are buying into distractions and misinformation out there. So, and not that I care. Listen, you want to believe in flat Earth? You can believe the Earth is whatever shape you want. It still doesn't change my driving time when I go from A to B. It doesn't change anything for me, except that we are being deceived. And if you're going to be deceived by that, what else are you going to be deceived by? So it's a wonderful time, I think. It gives more people access than ever before. I mean, remember, at one time, over 500 years ago, even possessing a copy of the Bible was punishable by death. Now, information is available for everybody, but the tactic that the enemy is using now is just to flood everybody with all these kinds of things to get people confused. And I remember so clearly years ago when I had a campaign that was being waged against me in my previous ministry by my rabbi. He had turned from the Lord and on me, and many know this story. But I remember that one of the couples in the congregation, there was an elderly Italian man, and in the phone conversation that we had after I left the congregation, after I was driven out, is he said to me that there's just too many voices. And so he didn't want to be bothered parsing through anything. He was going to accept whatever's most convenient and easiest. And unfortunately, I think that's what a lot of believers are doing, that when you have this vast treasure trove of information like we do today, you have to do the work. It's the same thing when you read the scriptures. You have to do the work. You cannot properly articulate the deeper truths of the Bible without doing the work. Yes, you can preach the gospel. You can preach the gospel you can be illiterate and preach the gospel. Praise the Lord. People can get saved. But if you're really going to understand how to walk this thing out, as Abigail said, to work out your salvation in fear and trembling, and in Deuteronomy 29:29, when it says the secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things that have been revealed to us have been given to us and our children, so that we may do the words of the law. And so if you want to walk closer with God, you have to understand the nuances of Scripture. You have to understand the nuances of the language. You have to understand all of these things. And if you're not willing to do the work, if we're going to be spiritually lazy, which a lot of people are today, because everything can be had at the click of a button, it's easier to see what people are posting on Facebook than to rightly divide the word of truth. And so it's a blessing, but if you're not willing to put in the effort and the time, then it's much easier to be deceived than ever before.
I believe that deception is a waste of time for both parties. It just is. I don't know how else to describe it, but anything that false news, which can be found out, is just a waste of time for both parties. Anyway, James O'Hare, my friend, what you got to say, brother?
Well, I think a lot has been said, and I don't know if I can add a whole lot to it, but there's always the but. I just wanted to reference the flat Earth theory for a minute, Rabbi. The reason I think the resurgence of it is because we have overpopulation these days, so there's too many people on the Earth, and we flattened it like a pancake. So that's just theory on that. So
I've never heard that reasoning before. I'll have to use it.
well, I mean, you can trust this source. Come on, man. But it's interesting though that we're talking about this subject because we're actually reading about the first really international correspondent this week, Noah. He was
really? Yes. Yeah.
Really, I mean, think of it. I mean, he was a preacher of righteousness. He proclaimed the word. He proclaimed the good news to a dying generation, and they all died except for his family. But so then you have to think about where from where we are today. Where were we? How did we get the news back in the day and years ago? I mean, before there was printing presses, before there was media, social media, and written media, all that kind of stuff. You had this one person going from town to town, basically standing on a pedestal and proclaiming the news of the day, if you will. I think is that a town crier?
Town crier, exactly. Yeah.
Town crier
And
giving
then-
that,
and
then you can even go with getting when people were writing things, you could do it with the Pony Express type of thing, getting mail and getting news that way. Also then the printing press happened, and then you have newspapers are being that kind of stuff being happened. Then going to radio. And all this stuff took time, and then even in the movies where you had those famous newsreels, that they played before those feature films, and talked about the World War I, World War II, whatever it was that they were doing at that time. And then the TV became, it started in the living rooms of homes, and now we're into the internet age, where we have cable. We have more cable stations than we even like to think that we have, and how many of them are news networks. So now you have an industry of news that's 24/7, 365, being and they're all in competition with one another for the most part. I mean, at least they were in the beginning. I mean, you think of the 60s and the 60s. You mentioned Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite, definitely had Democratic leanings, but you really didn't know. I mean, you might have sensed it, but you really didn't know. He was kind of, middle of the road. You had the Dan Rathers of the world, the Tom Brokaws of the world. Not like it is today, where you have a media that is totally sold out for one side and not and totally coming up against the other, and wanting one side to win and not the other. Where, as you mentioned, what media really means is middle of the road, and it's supposed to be equal. Right. And I think that's all that people are really looking for. They're looking for having fairness in media, balance in media. The tagline with Fox News is fair and balanced. Mm-hmm. Well, that may have started that way. They've gotten. I mean, when you have Paul Ryan, the former Speaker of the House, a rhino in my opinion, now basically is on the board and is a very influential figure on Fox News. What is that going to do? I mean, the influence of that. And then you have the Ted Turners of the world, you have the Bezos of the world, and you have all these different people with biases, and they bring that into the Washington Post, the New York Times, into the CNN, the MSNBC, all these different things. And then they, even if you ever, I don't know if you ever watched One American News. One American News tends to be a lot more. I mean, it's on the right hand side of the equation, and maybe very much pro, because they are very, very pro Trump and pro America, and I mean it's just they don't account to anyone, because I think it's a billionaire family who owns the station, and I don't even think he cares if they lose money, because he wants to get a message out. Mm-hmm. So, but they call it conspiracy because it's not CNN, CBS, ABC, and the whole 9 yards. So you get this, and then I heard today, which was interesting, that most people get their news updates and information from social media. It's like 60-something%, which I thought was like, wow, that is pretty high in my opinion. And again, I think you Mark put up the phone saying, that everything that we have today, it's not a phone anymore. It's a computer, a supercomputer. I mean, think of the computers we used to have 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. These phones are so much more dramatic and than those ever were. And you can get information at the tip of the app. Hit this app, hit that app, and you get information overload constantly. And so the deceiver, and you mentioned, deception. You don't really like deception, and I agree with you, and I don't blame you for that at all. But the deceiver is out in the world, and he is, again, it's that frog in the water that you mentioned, Abigail, where it's just the heat's turned up little by little. So this didn't just happen overnight. This happened over a course of 1,000, 2,000 years, or in America since the founding of this country, which we're actually coming up to the 400th anniversary of the landing at Plymouth this November, where you had solid, faithful believers who wanted to have freedom of worship, freedom of religion, freedom to do what they see, what the Bible says, what the Father is telling them to do. They broke away from England. They came here to this new world, still subjects of England, but came to this new world and wanted to live their lives as the Father showed them in the Word. But since then, man messes things up, and it just goes on and on and on. And this little trickle, this little drip, we live not too far from New Hampshire, which has some beautiful mountain ranges, and there's some beautiful rivers and
coming down,
gushers. What do you call those things? I mean, they're kind of like gushers, that are going through the rocks. Well, these things begin with a drop, with a drip, 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 and that broke through that rock. And that's what the media has done to us, and that's why we need the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, and discernment this day, more than we ever needed it. We always needed it, but we need to discern the what is going on, and what the motive is behind the media, good or bad. And that drip, it's that drip, drip, drip constantly, and we need to identify that. That's where I think the church has had some issues. Where even when our eyes were opened to see wonders from the Torah, and then we explained it to others, they're like, no, it's drip, drip, drip. No, that's the way I was taught, drip, drip, drip. No, that's the way I've always done it, drip, drip, drip. And it's constantly going in their heads. And words, you mentioned this, Daryl, is words. Words control the masses, because what happens is they change the words to mean different things, and the cancel culture comes out, and I mean, great example of that was during the Supreme Court hearing of Amy Coney Barrett, when I don't even know how she became a senator from Hawaii. That woman just,
because it's Hawaii.
I have no idea. And I've been to Hawaii. I love Hawaii.
We enjoy Hawaii.
Wasn't Obama from Hawaii?
Together. but she, because I guess in a question and answer thing, which I mean, they're all speeches mostly from the senators, the Democratic ones. They don't really want to hear her answers. They just want to preach to her their doctrine. But she, I guess, when Amy did have a chance to respond to something, she mentioned something about the words sexual preference in it, and Hirono got so upset. She said that is so offensive. That is so, outdated. It's supposed to be. I guess it's supposed to be sexual orientation. But it's funny. Fox even did this. They looked at some of the people like from Planned Parenthood, from this leftist group, this left, as early as 3 weeks ago, and even Ruth Bader Ginsburg 2 years ago said sexual preference. So it's interesting. But the Webster, the Merriam-Webster dictionary that day, almost like 10 minutes after that was done,
no way,
the definition.
No way.
Yeah. So there's an example of trying to control the narrative, trying to control the masses, trying to control the people. Because that's what you mentioned Marxism, Daryl, and I'm sorry, I'm really kind of going on here.
No, you're fine. We got all the time in the world here.
For someone who didn't have any much to say.
No, that's fine. We're good.
But you mentioned Marxism and the Democratic Party is all about Marxist, socialist, communist type of ideas. Why? Because what they want is they're saying that they're for the masses. They're saying they want to help the people. They want to give free education to this and free healthcare to that and this and that and blah, 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 blah. But what they really want to do, it's kind of like what Lenin did with the Soviets and the Russians, and said, give me your horses. I'll give you a tractor for every farm. They gave them the horses. They did not get a tractor. Because why? Power. He had the power. The Democrats want the power, and they want to control. They want to pack the court. They want to add Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico as states. Why? So they can have most likely 4 additional Democrat senators, so that they will always be in power. And then do away with electoral college, popular vote. Why? Because California, New York, Chicago, those centers have the most people, and they vote Democrats all the time. So it's just and the media is complicit with it. In the whole, most of the media is complicit of it, and they won't go against the beast.
Well, that's why we call him Governor O'Hare. That's all there is to it. Very well said, James. Very, very well said. Let me just wind this up in 4 different words that I kind of jotted down while listening to everybody. And everybody just very well said on everything. We covered a lot of things here. The first word is competition. In media today, that is the number one thing that should not be entered into any media, but it's just full of competition, because once again, one of the things that was said by somebody, I think James even probably said it, was the countless numbers of news sources there are out there now, especially with social media. And am I going through here? Okay. I thought for a second that I was froze. There is just, even 10 years ago, there was a song called 193 stations and there's nothing on, talking about the cable network. You've got massive amounts of.
It was Bruce Springsteen, and it was 1987.
Yeah. I know, something like that. Yeah, but I was thinking of Springsteen. But there's just competition. It's just like there's so many different ones all vying for that place. And Apple TV actually has a show called Morning Show. and it is just amazing, the inside look at what goes on morning shows, different things that they're trying to in competition. Second word is agendas. Obviously, there's agendas not only within the different parties, but in the different stations, the different networks, the different countries that are out there broadcasting. They have each one of them has their own agenda. What gets me is that you'll find out that so many people working for a particular station, that station's owner may have an agenda or having to deal with the competition, and a news person just can't deal with that, or they don't go along with that, so they quit and they go find a station where they can work and it meets their own values, that type of thing. It's just a shifting of different people until you get enough people in your station, in your network, that all kind of seems to be thinking along the same lines of the same agendas, and everybody has their own same way that they're looking at different things. Of course, the third word is money. It comes down to money. I mean, it has to be money, and money, of course, goes along with the competition and the agendas. Is that you've got each different station, each different network, everybody putting out their news, putting out their media, putting out entertainment. You know, you got ABC, CBS, Fox, and now you've got Hulu and Netflix and Apple and Peacock is a new station that's out there. And I mean, we're talking media. It's not just news. It's everything. It's media. It's all about the money. Who can get their network? I remember growing up and only knowing about ABC, CBS, and NBC. All of a sudden, Fox comes along. And oh my gosh, there's another network now, another media station, you know, besides radio and that type of thing. I always loved it when there was a new radio station, and now there's a million radio stations out there. Try driving for 24 hours across country and trying to pick up some kind of media that you want to hear. It's next to impossible. Money. Last word, of course, that comes across of everything is integrity. The integrity of the worldwide media has 100% been shot. In my opinion, there is no possible way for the integrity of the media to ever come back anywhere near close than what it was. Like what James was just saying about Cronkite and Tom Brokaw. And I mean, now you got Tom Brokaw was in trouble for doing something not too long ago. But I remember a time when I still just didn't even care that much about it, but I knew the different newscasters and the different networks and stuff that at least they had the integrity to where you could trust that they weren't trying to tell you something that wasn't right, or to portray something across that wasn't right or truth. You never even thought about it at that time. But today, I see no possible way of ever getting any integrity back within any media. And so I uphold the Lamb Network, and we try to do as the best that we possibly can to put out the way, the truth, and the life of the Messiah, and try to keep as much integrity in our station as we can. But, you know, once again, we have, I think there's 6 different shows that now do news on them. Some form of news. James and Abigail do it. They have, you know, their shows that they do, especially the Sunday Reason, Monday Reason that the Craigs and I do, and we do news. I love listening to John Craig because I can believe what he has to say, and we kind of have the same agendas, that type of thing. I think we kind of congregate to people that have the same agendas and belief systems that we have, and that type of thing. So it's a rough day and age. Once again, I've said this so many times, even said it this morning on Monday Reason. I'm 66 years old. I've worked my butt off trying to get to a time in my life where I can just relax, and live out however many years, 25, 30 more years, and enjoy my life. But now that I've kind of got to a place where I have peace and, I can kind of relax a little bit more than what I used to, the world goes to hell. Everything just goes all chaos. And I don't, are we ever going to have a day where we don't have to think about the different things going on? Like I was saying this morning, it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of different things that's going on. John did a story on gamma rays that are now coming out of the earth. I don't want us all to be turning into the Hulk. I don't want to deal with all that. But my peace is not in what's going to happen. My peace is in the Lord. I don't need to know who the Antichrist is to be able to have my peace. I don't need to know, that the COVID-19 is all going to clear up by the first of next year, and next year is going to be good. I don't have to hope for that, because my hope is in the Lord. My peace is in the Lord and the lifestyle that I live. And I have to maintain that. I have to keep the integrity that's within me and not compromise anything whatsoever at all to keep my peace. And I hope that most people understand that and also have that same peace. Don't let the media overwhelm you and what's going on around the world. Know that the Lord does. I remember a song growing up, and even at 66 years old, I want to keep this song in my heart. He has the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. That's all I care about.
Mark, I sang that very same song on Let Us Reason Together when we were talking about, I believe we were talking about Noah. And,
wow.
and I sang that whole song. I mean, I sang the song because I was saying, in the midst of all the chaos that's happening, he's sovereign. He is the sovereign of the universe. He's sovereign. But he's allowing these things to happen for a purpose. Yeah. And this is where I want to encourage you, Mark, and Daryl, and James, and me, and everybody else that is alive and kicking in this for such a time as this. Is we have a function, we have a purpose, and our purpose is to be a light unto the nations. Our purpose is to study the Word, diligently seek Him, and listen and obey, and that is my peace. That is my shalom. And Daryl talked about discernment. I'm convinced, because I've had discernment for so many years. They used to call me AWAC when I was in the church, because I'd be, just focusing on something, and all of a sudden I'd be having all kinds of this is going on and that's going on, and things that were, it was spiritual. I mean, there were things happening. And so I had to bring that to someone's attention because it was a spiritual happening. Right. But anyhow, so I was titled AWAC, but I'm convinced that discernment comes from studying the Word. I believe the more you have the Word hidden in your heart, that Word is alive. And this is one thing that's missing on the media.
That's right.
Very seldom do I hear anybody on the public media, and I know there's people that they say, I'm a good Catholic. They bring up a lot about Catholicism. You hear a lot about Catholicism in the media. Very seldom. You hear some now. You're hearing more about Jewish people in Israel, but you don't hear, this is a biblical holiday. The people are celebrating Sukkot. The people right now are celebrating Elul. The people right now are celebrating the 10 days of awe. And even when Jonathan Cain had that prayer session in Washington, D.C., which James and I went to, which was awesome. I'm saying this has to be on the media because, this has got to be shown on the news. Right. Someone's going to show this. This is like a major breakthrough spiritually. We were with thousands of people, no chaos, no demonstration.
Right.
We had people on their knees and on their face. And he was talking about teshuvah. He was talking about repentance. It was called return. And so it was such a breath of right there in Washington, D.C. Okay. And I looked to my left, I looked to my right, I looked all around me and I saw all these human beings. And let me tell you something. You could just look at them and tell them their lives most recently has changed to seek the Father. Right. I mean, their lives have changed to seek a spiritual, higher understanding of who they are. Why am I here today? What do I do next? I can see that what's going on isn't right. How do I get right with myself? So there is a movement taking place spiritually, even in the midst of all the chaos. There are people, and I think I shared it with you, Mark, on Sunday before I went on to pray, that we had been praying for so many people about very, very serious situations. I mean, extreme situations. James and I have been ministering to some people for 7 years about certain situations. And hallelujah, a major breakthrough.
Right.
I mean, a major breakthrough. It was so supernatural and so much part of the intervention of Yeshua in their lives. And it was like, and they knew it, and they called us and they said, a miracle happened in our lives. A miracle. And so I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear what they were saying. And you could tell that there was a change. Mm-hmm. They had restored back to an understanding that there is a living Elohim. There is a living Most High. Our Redeemer lives. And anyhow, I got really excited about it because I love what you said Mark just now about, you can't let the media, you can't let it, I'll paraphrase, rob, kill, and destroy you. You can't let it get so much under your skin that it robs your joy. And I got to be honest with you. I get extremely passionate when I start hearing all the lies.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about hearing the lies. I'm thinking about all the people who don't know the word, who aren't studying the word, who haven't surrendered their lives to Yeshua, and they're being duped. They're being deceived. And Alexander the Great said this one thing: if I can change the language and if I can get control of their minds, I've conquered them. I've conquered them. That's what he said.
Of course.
And all of his generals, he died, and his 5 generals carried on. Well, guess what? Just like these dry bones are living, the bones that are living with the Ruach HaKodesh in it, you and I and all of those who are seeking and living, there is still that agenda that if I can just get control of their minds, if I can change the language, the English language,
Amen.
if I can twist and change it. And that's what they're doing in the schools. That's what they're doing on the news. That's what they're doing on the TikTok, whatever, that TikTok and all other kinds of things that are going on.
Right.
I'm saying we're in a spiritual battle.
We are.
But we're on the right side of it. We are on the right side of it. We are warriors. And that's one thing President Trump says. He calls people who are wanting to preserve life and help the United States of America. And he's not a pastor. We didn't elect a pastor. We didn't elect a rabbi. We elected a CEO. But guess what's happening as he's fighting the good fight, Mark? He's changing.
Right.
Fighting the fight will change you, especially fighting it for the right reason.
We're with you.
You got me stirred, Mark.
We're with you 100%. I gotta shut her down. I'm done. So it's been a long day, but thank you, Abigail. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for your word. I really do appreciate it. We covered a lot of ground tonight, and this is exactly where I wanted to go. And I really do appreciate it. So, James and Abigail, you guys are on 45, 46 different shows now. I think it is from Sunday to Saturday you're on, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, there's only 40 shows on this network.
No, so that's the way it works. But you can find them all through. There is a search on the homepage now of the Lamb Network. So just put their names in there and all their different shows will show up.
That sounds like a democratic voting scheme.
No, there's not anything about voting on the Lamb Network. So, all right. Well, I appreciate it. And Daryl's on his show, Ruach HaEmet, which will remain that name, I'm assuming, going forward, Daryl. You've changed. Okay. And that's on Sabbath at noon Eastern time. James and Abigail host Torah Study Among Friends at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And a lot of other shows. Daryl's on shows. I'm on shows. I got to go. I've had a long day. You guys, thank you so much.
I saw you wrestling your grandchildren.
Oh, you did? Yeah. That was a lot of fun. They'll wear you out. They'll wear you out too. All right. God bless everybody. We'll see you next week. Next week's topic is Jewish God, Christian God, Muslim little God. Parenthetically, same God, different God. How? ?
Wow.
We'll talk about that next week. So God bless everybody. We'll see you in the sweet by and by. In the sweet by and by.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.